Hi everyone, I'm Ainsley and I'm here today with my good friend April.
Hi everyone!
And we're going to be talking about something really important today. We're going to be exploring our inner critic and our inner champion. But before we do that, we're going to start off with a little exercise that April's going to lead us through.
Awesome, thanks Ainsley. So we're going to start off today by doing a different kind of drawing. Maybe you've done a drawing like this before, but if not, what we're doing is we're going to draw intuitively. And what that means is that we're going to just make marks on a paper freely based on how we're feeling in the moment. You don't need to really think of what you're going to draw or what it's going to look like. You want to just draw freely and listen to your intuition, which is your voices inside and what they're expressing. So you're going to take a piece of paper and you can have markers, colored pencils, any drawing materials, and you're going to just go for it. Now we can make any mark you want to do, any line, shape, form, color, and go for it. So you can make, I'm going to start drawing to show you. You can make big scribbly lines, you can make dots and marks, you can do soft and smooth lines, you can change the different colors, and just try to be really, really free. Now, sometimes this can be really hard. I know it's hard for me because normally I like to think and plan out things. So I'm going to just try my best to make any mark.
So any mark, no goal attached to it.
No goal, just
drawing what I feel like drawing.
Be free. You want to think about
like
the different
scribble.
Yeah, the different types of lines, different types of marks, different types of colors, anything. And while you're doing this, you want to think about the different kinds of voices that might come up inside of your head. And I'll give you an example. So, this is my drawing that I did. It's very, very free, exploding with color. You can see the different marks and scribbles and different colors down here. I really, really went for it. But as I was drawing, there were many different voices that came into my head, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you. So some of the things that I was thinking was, oh, those might be too many lines. Maybe you should do less. Oh, maybe I don't like that color. I like pink. I'm going to grab pink. Maybe you should put that mark there, or don't put that mark there. Oh, I think I made a mistake. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. So even though my drawing looks very free, it was still hard to go through all of those different voices that were coming out. Some were like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I can't believe I just did that. And think like, oh, I love my drawing so much. It looks so good. Oh, but wait, will somebody else like my drawing? So what were some of your voices, Ainsley?
Well, I know sometimes, this is my quick little scribble I did. Sometimes I feel like voices will come in my head that are saying, oh, this is so silly, or that's not good. That's not good enough. What is that? Children's work? Or, there's just a little, what we call inner critic living inside my head. And we all have an inner critic, and we all have an inner champion. So like April said, sometimes the voice inside our head is saying really nice things, and other times it can be somewhat hurtful. So we're going to be focusing on those voices that we hear sometimes, and whether it's while we're creating art or doing anything, these voices can appear for us. So with that being said, let's take a moment, and I want everyone to think about what that voice, the inner critic, the one that may not be the nicest, what that voice says to you sometimes. Okay, think about the voice, and I want you to begin to visualize what, if this was a character, what would the character look like? Would it be big? Is it a big character? yelling these words at you? Or is it small? Is it a small character that might whisper it here and there? Is it a weak character or is it really strong? Think about the colors that this character might be, okay? And any other characteristics that come to mind. The character might be a human. The character might be a mythological creature. It might just be form. It could just be a bunch of different colors and shapes that create something to become your inner critic. So I want you to take a moment, visualize what it looks like, and I want you to use markers, colored pencils, whatever art materials you have at home, and take a moment to create what this character looks like. And you can also write down any words that it might be saying to you. Okay, so take a moment to create that right now. We have already created ours, just for the sake of time. So I'll share with you this inner critic that came up for me. As you can see here, it's a little guy. And this inner critic, for me, it's more small. It kind of looks a little bit weak, to be honest, like it's whispering to me. And these are some of the things that it might say. Don't inconvenience others. Hey, are you really going to make these people wait? Don't be a bother. What about their feelings? They didn't mean to cause you harm. You should just give them what they want. So those are some of the things that my inner critic has said to me, and I can hear that voice in my head here and there. How about you, April?
Okay, so my inner critic looks more like this. Okay? So mine is like a blue orb that is surrounded by different lines and shapes and movement. And it's very, very fast movements and kind of looks very busy and doesn't really like feel calm. And this is my inner critic that always gets me to worry and is telling me things like, oh, maybe you shouldn't do that. Something bad might happen. Or maybe you should do this instead. Maybe you should try to stay really, really busy so that way you don't have to, be worried about slowing down. It's kind of just like a voice that's always warning me to worry about the worst thing that can happen. And this is how it kind of makes me feel and what it makes me think it looks like. So that's kind of like my inner critic's way of looking if I had to draw it.
Mm-hmm. And now I want to take a moment to just notice how different our inner critics look. So if you do a side by side, they look very, very different. Mm-hmm. So mine's really small. I would say it's more weak. And, it's muted in colors. Mm-hmm. Where April, I feel like yours is more expansive.
Yeah, it's very, very big. It fills up the whole paper. It's a very big energy. And when I feel it, it feels like it's a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's not quiet. Mm-hmm. It's very loud.
So if you want to practice this, let's just take a moment and respond to our inner critic with our body and our movement with our body. So if you want, just take a moment, look at your inner critic, and I want you to mimic the energy behind that inner critic with a body movement. So just take a moment, and I'm going to go like this.
Mine is more like this.
Okay. And now do you want to trade, April?
Sure.
And see how it feels to feel someone else's inner critic? So take a moment and just sit with what that might look like, what that might feel like. That's what that felt like for me.
That's very, very different for me.
Very, yes. So sometimes it's good to know that, everyone has an inner critic. We all have at least one. I'm sure we have a lot of inner critics going on, and they all look so different for different people. Mm-hmm. So, it's good. We can practice being empathetic towards others, knowing that they might have this little voice in their mind that's making them act in a certain way or making them feel a certain way about themselves. So after we create our inner critic, there's something wonderful that we also have, which is our inner champion. So this is going to be the opposite, I would say. The duality of our inner critic is this champion. So I want you to take a moment, and again, we're going to visualize what this character might look like. So think about the colors of your inner champion and the words your inner champion would say to you. What is the size? Is it small? Is it big, medium size? Is it soft, harsh? Is it a human? Is it just shapes? Take this moment and really envision this inner champion for yourself. And I want you to just go ahead and create it using markers, colored pencils, and whatever it is that you have. All right, so once you've taken a moment to create that, I'm going to share with you my inner champion. This one is more of an abstract form, and basically based from, where's my inner critic? I think you have mine.
I took it.
So these two go together, okay? So this one felt like it wasn't able to take up space. It was always considering others first before themselves. This one is taking up space, it's shining, and it has some boundaries created. So it created some boundaries so that it felt safe to be itself, okay?
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Makes me feel very calm and safe and kind of like I have my own space to be myself.
Awesome, thank you. April, for sharing that.
Yeah. So when I was creating my inner champion, I really thought about some of the opposite types of emotions that I would want to feel when my inner critic starts talking to me. And, so my inner critic makes me feel very anxious and worried and very, very nervous. So I was thinking if my inner champion is the opposite, then my inner champion must be something that makes me feel calm and still and kind of free. So since I love to paint, I did my inner champion as a painting of a mountain. And this mountain is something that is very still and solid. And no matter how hard the wind blows, no matter how fast things are moving, the mountain will always be still. So my inner champion's kind of trying to share that kind of voice of be still. And no matter how busy things are around you, you can do that.
That's so nice, April. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Very calm. Okay, so once we have both of those things created, I want to take a moment to really talk about how they're both important. And, at the end of the day, we are more than our inner critic and our inner champion. These are just voices that come into our heads here and there. But with that being said, they're all trying to help us in some way. They just might not be doing it the best way. Okay, so even though this inner critic, he sometimes he's making my life not so fun, and I don't feel so good when I hear those voices. But I can tell that this inner critic is just trying to help me be more empathetic to others, compassionate to others, take care of others. However, it might go too far. It might take it a little bit too far. So we're going to end this practice with thanking our inner critic, but we're going to fill it in with what our inner champion has helped us come to realize. So for me, we have our thank you but. So thank you, inner critic, for trying to teach me to be empathetic to others, but it's important that I put myself first sometimes.
I love that. So for me, I'm going to say thank you, inner critic, for trying to keep me safe from the bad things that might happen, but I can still be calm and enjoy things in the moment. And if something bad happens, I know that I can be prepared.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much, April,
Thank
for
you,
joining
Ainsley,
me
for
in
helping
this.
me.
It's so important, and stay tuned for part 2 of Inner Critic and Inner Champion workshop.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.